We are live with the State of Flow Soft Podcast episode 1. How you feeling, boys?
Doing good.
I feel like we've talked about it a lot, and it's cool to see it actually come together today and how we're going to be moving forward.
Yeah, I never would have guessed in January when we all started chatting that we would already be doing a podcast a couple months later, which is
Literally, we had
like
just
nuts.
I just met you in January.
like 3 months ago.
Yeah.
Doing it when it clicks, it clicks.
Yeah, that's exactly it. When things align, you got to go with it, right?
Yeah, you got to run with it. So, Landon, State of Flow, this was, we all came together and this idea is the child of all of us. But I do feel like you were the one who brought the podcast aspect and the State of Flow, soft lifestyle aspect forward. Why don't we start by like introducing to our audience, like what is soft, what is State of Flow, why are we doing this podcast?
Yeah, good question. I think we'll go to the podcast first and we'll dive into the State of Flow. So with the podcast, it was basically, I've always wanted to have some format of a podcast, and I've wanted to do it in a way that's with like just a good group of dudes that you can sit down, have a conversation, talk business, talk culture, talk entrepreneurship, and just talk about life in general too, right? And so after like we all got together and started building out the course, it was like, it literally just aligned. It was perfect for all three of us to be like, yeah, let's do a podcast. And then kind of leaning into what this whole podcast is going to be about and what State of Flow is basically, eliminating that like hustle culture and going into like the new world of, let's call it the new wave of entrepreneurship, where you're doing it from a place of like flow, in the sense that, you're obviously still taking massive action. You're getting a lot of things done. There's going to be days where you got to hustle and just grind it out. But your whole life is not just built around hustle. You prioritize your health, you prioritize your relationships, your family, and obviously you prioritize your wealth, right? But, you can get rich and have fun doing it and going through that process. And I think what a lot of people hate is they think they need to go and grind it out for 15 years and hate that process. Whereas like that's 15 years of your life that you're never getting back. So you might as well enjoy the whole process. And sure, maybe it'll take you 20 years to get to whatever wealth level you want to get to, but at least you're enjoying every aspect in the whole journey. Because really at the end of the day, it's the journey, and it's not really the end goal. So
Dude, definitely. I've never thought about this before until now, but like people always say like leave your 9 to 5. Like, why do you want to work a job you hate for 40 years and then retire? But even if you're working for yourself, why do you want to do that for 15 years and then retire? Like, sure, you cut like 25 years off, but you're still 15 years of your life doing something you don't like, whether you work for yourself or not.
Yeah.
And you're so right that is the idea of State of Flow. Is it seems to me like when anyone gets into entrepreneurship, they always have the belief that you need to like hustle and grind 24/7. And that might be true in the sense that in the beginning of any business, you do have to put in a lot of work to get things going. Like you are the driving force and there's no momentum at all moving that forward. So you need to front load with more work. But the idea that you always need to be working 24/7, that the only thing that you should value is your business. I think that we're moving into a culture, like you said, that's just the old way of thinking about business. Like nowadays, you can be successful. You can also have a good family life. You can have amazing friends. You can have that relationship. Like business is a part of your life, not your entire life. And that's really what soft and State of Flow is let's be in the state of flow where we're flowing through life in all of its areas and still crushing it at business.
It's like when people say like you should lean into what you're naturally gifted at, right? Or like the like classic like visionary and integrator. Like every business needs a visionary and every business needs an integrator, right? And like you don't want the visionary doing the managing and the integration side of things. You don't want the integrator trying to create the vision. So it's like if you're a visionary, for example, you're already living in your state of flow if you're able to think big picture and always just focus on that. And that actually ends up providing more value for a business when it comes to scaling it up, as opposed to then you being bogged down and worrying about like, oh, I got to manage all these employees. I got to manage this. I got to do all the micro stuff. If you're a visionary, think macro, stay in that state. And as long as you're aligned with other people that kind of play into other skill sets that you're not lacking in, but don't necessarily have the best skill at, then yeah, I think that's one way to describe it, I guess.
Yeah, partnership's huge.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say that's why like what we're doing is so valuable, and just like the direction we're going. Like each one of us has like their kind of focus niche, and that's like they lead the ship on that realm of things,
Yeah.
which is awesome because like when you're doing that stuff, like say the visionary integrator, classic example, that work bogs you down. Like, you know what I mean? I don't enjoy doing stuff outside of my realm. Yeah, like you said, you do got to push through and get it done. But it's so awesome when you can rely on other people who truly like doing those things. That's just when you're gonna get that like hockey stick curve, like analogy in your business, because like, and you want to spread out that responsibility to everyone else, especially when you're being a founder and thing when you're starting off and you don't have any money. Yeah, you have to wear multiple hats in the business. But that's why I feel like so many successful people just repeat it each and every time because they figure out what they don't like or more importantly, what they're good at. And so when they launch the next business, they just hire the people that do the stuff they don't like and they solely focus it. The best example is probably Elon Musk, right? Like
Yeah.
he was in PayPal. They talk about the PayPal mafia, like just a realm of success through all those guys. And he was able to every business after that, even though like say Tesla lost a tremendous amount of money, when almost went bankrupt. Like Elon was almost having to was borrowing money from his parents to pay for his rent, even after he did $100 million exit from PayPal. You just eventually evolve, and he found the right people to make Tesla a big hit. But he was the visionary. He understood what it meant to the world to create this business or create this product.
Yeah, it's great. And that is one of the big topics that we have today. As we said, for every podcast, we'll usually have 3 to 5 topics that we'll hit on. And one of them is like systems and automation. And
Yeah.
And yeah, the more that I get into business, I'm becoming so big on systems and automation. And I think it's a funny story that I've told you guys is I have no problem delegating literally everything that I don't want to do. Like I only want to do the top stuff. And I believe it's because I grew up a spoiled brat. Like, honest to God, it's the weirdest thing. Like, my mom did my laundry till I was 18. She cooked all my meals, packed all my lunches. Like, even in high school, my mom was still packing my lunch. And then I remember moving out, and all my friends are like, "You're gonna be so hopeless." And I remember like them making fun of me the first time I did my laundry when I was 19 years old because I didn't know how to do it. But like, I know how to do all this. I'm very capable. But now I'm like, I have no problem delegating it. I don't want to do any of that stuff. Like I've never done any of it. So I would rather pay someone to do my laundry, do my cooking, do my cleaning. And people can make fun of me and say I'm white collar or whatever the heck that means. But I would rather focus my attention on things I genuinely love to do and am good at. So in business, if you're better at creating content and you don't like writing all the copy and all that kind of stuff, like, well, then why are you wasting your time writing copy? Because someone who's good at it will do it in a fraction of the time and they'll do it better because they're putting more heart into it. Like systems and automation, like automate as much as you can with tech and then delegate what you can to other people that you like and are great at that particular job.
Yeah, it's like the classic, so a good example is like when I had the mobile home business at the beginning, I originally wasn't a systems guy and like a delegation kind of guy. And so I just kind of would just like go with the flow. Like whatever was going on, I just, make it happen that day. And then I sat down with like kind of a mentor I had back in university, and he basically like sat me down and was like, you need to go through a chart and write down eliminate, automate, delegate, and write down every single one of like your tasks. It doesn't matter how simple it is, like every single task you go through in the business in a daily life, and then just start to say, okay, can I eliminate that? Can I delegate it? Or can I automate it? And just go through that whole process. And it took me still a while past that point. And I mean, I think coming out to Kelowna is when I started to realize I need to delegate and then start to try and automate what I can and build in the proper systems to take my time back.
Yeah. And we know the king of systems over here is Russ.
Oh,
like
yeah.
Russ has
Speak about
business
it.
systems dialed in probably better than anyone I've ever met.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I always believe once you do something, like to a certain extent, you can always make it better, especially in your business. You do hit a certain point, like say the manufacturing a vehicle. Well, I'm sure the technology we have nowadays, like we're not making instrumental leaps in how they manufacture cars anymore. But especially when you start, and I think that's something that people take too long to do. Like once you've done the task and you've started your business for a while, like actually reflect on that. And I think that was something I did that was really important is every quarter I had a big reflection. I was like, hey, like what can I do better or how can I do this more efficient? But actually took the time to sit down and put that in and then implemented a lot of systems into the business that were taking up my time or just wasn't efficiency. Most of those were through technology, which is in a realm that I'm not good at all. But I was able to find people that could help me do that. Like a lot of those things I didn't firsthand like install or implement. Like I paid people to do a majority of it, but I was just like, hey, show me how to do this so I can explain to say when I get my assistant or I get the next person, I'm able to explain it to them and I know how it works. But other than that, like I literally don't care. Like I'm not going to be the one running this in probably a year. I'm not going to be the one looking after this stuff anymore. I know I have to know how to do it, but I don't have to master it per se. So that was kind of like a reflection I had because I know like when I was going through the systems and automation side of things, like I thought I had to know how every single detail of all the stuff worked. I was like researching how the code would go. Say even my Google ads, like I was like learning about stuff that was so like when we talk about speaking high level, like I was down like 10 tiers on how to actually run Google ads, which really none of the stuff that I was implementing on my ads actually made them better. But it was taking up all of my time. Then when I just dumbed them down again and made them just like pretty cut and dry, they started performing even better because there's less moving parts. But yeah, systems and automation is the number one thing. I think any person that's legitly became a billionaire is they figured out technology. And people always have this pretense just because like you're not a techie guy, you're not a computer guy. Like I came from the blue collar industry of like I was a tradesman, like swinging hammers, you mean pulling wrenches. You just have to know, you have to realize how important it is. It literally can transform your business.
There's one of those things where this is going to happen every time. Like there's like 10 threads I want to pull on with that, with everything that Russ just said. Okay, there's a question because, okay, well, first I'll say this. I think people don't realize that you could duplicate yourself essentially with automation. Like how many times have people been like, I wish I could duplicate myself so that I could have like 4 versions of me and I could get 4 times as much done. It's like, hey, take that same like mental model of duplicate yourself, but delegation automation. And why do you guys think it is that most people don't delegate? Like what holds entrepreneurs back from delegating and going from like 5 to 10 in their business?
I'll speak from myself. I think what held me back is I was just always go, go, go. So I was like always in the weeds of it. And I never took the time to step out and like bird's eye view look. And then I think it's when like basically I saw a thing where it's like the key to evolution is reflection. And like if you don't take time to reflect, how are you ever going to evolve? Right? And when I look at that like when I was running my business for a while, like with the mobile homes, I would just go, run around, do whatever. And then like I would get so burnt out from that I didn't even have the like, I would say mental space to like then look at bird's eye view and do that. And I also just had a hard time like properly delegating and stuff like that, like just being a people pleaser the way I am. I had a hard time dealing with like the trades and holding them accountable and stuff like that. So then I'd end up always working more. And
it's interesting you say that because I have this theory that a lot of people don't delegate because it requires them to develop a different set of skills than what allowed them to get to where they are. Mm-hmm. Like the skills of growing a business are, you know, there is like the time management side of things. There's working on the right problems, always like being high level and focusing on getting results. But once you start managing people and people's emotions, because regardless if people say business isn't emotional, there's emotions in everything.
Yeah.
And when you got to manage people through delegation, you have to keep them motivated. You have to like be a leader. You have to be able to communicate clearly. You can't just be like, oh, I'll just do it. Like I can't explain it. Like it's just, you just do this. Like, well, now you have to understand things on a deeper level. It's a completely different set of skills once you decide to delegate. And I think that's one reason that holds a lot of people back from delegation.
100%. I would say that's the main reason.
Yeah. I think most people just want to know that they are the ones doing it all.
Oh, like an ego thing. Shit, that's an interesting take.
Yeah.
The ego holds people back from delegation, which would actually hold them back from like growing and getting a lot bigger.
Like I always relate it back to like say where I was previously employed. Um, like we had people that had been there for a long time. Obviously they had a ton of experience. They knew that place inside and out. Like they knew it better than anyone. But they were so against trying to leverage things that would make us more efficient that like I just knew firsthand like whenever I went to a business, even if it cost me more money, but say I implement it this year and in 5 years all of a sudden we became 4 times more profitable, even though maybe that first year we actually lost money on it. I thought it was a must. Like I was so sick of like trying to say like, hey, like we can implement. I guess a good example is we use, you would know what this software is. It's called Avantis. It's literally the worst project management system software in the history. Like it's brutal. And I was like, hey, like maybe we should take Microsoft Primavera, like P6 for project management, streamline. You can build out great workflows. It just has the capacity to do everything better. And their biggest takeaway was, well, then we would have to train everyone on how to do it.
Yeah, they don't want to take the time because then they're like in the weeds still of go, go, go.
Yeah.
You want to know like a good example? I have a friend that worked for an oil company. He automated and delegated himself out of a job. He literally like his role in the company, he automated to such a T that they literally like he went into a presentation and he had to present to like a group of 10 coworkers. He was presenting to people where he was making like parts of their job useless. He had to present this whole system, but then they like obviously got promoted and he basically eliminated that job. And it just goes to show that's a big, big oil company. How many big companies have inefficiencies where they like hire somebody where they could literally automate it for a fraction of the cost because of technology now? Yeah. Which I think kind of makes it interesting, brings us to the next topic, which is the gig economy.
Dude, who wants to kick this one off? Because this has been probably the biggest, like, mind-blowing realization I've had, and I almost feel kind of like an idiot for not realizing it, like, 5 years ago, to be honest. Like, reflecting, I'm like, I was ignorant of the gig economy for so long.
It's almost similar to like say cryptocurrency and the adoption of it. People always don't see the importance of it until it like takes off.
Yeah, people want proof of concept. You know, it's funny. Like an example I would have for this was a year ago I was trying to start up like a company around like influencing, vlogging, and all that kind of stuff. And I had a couple business partners, and one of them was going to take on the job of editing full time. And I remember what she said to me was, "I'll edit full time once it is a success, but not before." And I was like, fuck, that's interesting. Like a completely different mindset of her being like, seems too risky. Like, show me proof of concept. And once proof of concept is there and you're making money and I know I'm hopping on something that's working, then I'll do it. How many people have that same thought with cryptocurrencies where they just see it and they're like, okay, it's cool and there's a lot of buzz around it. I want to see long-term proof of concept, like long-term adoption, and then they'll hop on board, but not before.
I think a lot of people.
Have you guys ever seen Seth Godin's like marketing curve? I think it's from his like book Purple Cow. And he talks about how anytime you're trying to break into the market, there's a niche of people called like the early adopters, and they are always looking for trends. Like everyone will probably resonate that they have that one friend that's like, yo, this artist is popping off right now. You have to listen to him. And I'm like, oh, another one. Oh my God, another new crazy artist. Or they're wearing like the newest fashion trend. They're like, this is the newest thing. And like they're the only ones wearing it, but they're just convinced like this is the newest thing. And I'm not an early adopter at all, so I always like looked at them and kind of laughed. But Seth Godin's like, you need to appeal to the early adopters of any niche because they're the ones who influence the masses of any niche. And that's how I think we're in the crypto stage of early adoption, where all those people that are like, let's hop on the newest thing, let's look for the opportunities there, like what's it like, they're hopping onto crypto. But there's a lot of people that really are in that like lagging phase of adoption, waiting to see how it plays out.
I mean, I heard one of the best examples of when we'll see quote unquote a mass adoption, or when they think it'll happen, is the second you can have crypto be rebranded. So
What do you mean?
like, if you think about like, they call it like DAOs, like decentralized organizations, and like dApps, which is like a decentralized app, and all these like different words. The second you start to reword them and rebrand them, and it's almost like you don't even realize you're using blockchain technology, but you are. That's when you'll see that's when you'll see it kind of switch over to Web3.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Like, for example, like Maddie, my girlfriend, wouldn't know what to do on like any kind of crypto app or anything. Like, she wouldn't even know half the crypto language that's spoke right now. And honestly, a lot of it just sounds very like nerdy right now, or not like
It's too techy.
it's too techy.
Yeah.
It needs to be like, basically, like I was talking to an individual who's like, we need it to like be branded. The second the branding kicks off and it becomes like kind of like quote unquote sexy, then it'll be a thing. Like right now, it's like all the like guys swarming in to flip, make money, and get rich. That is like 90. That is 90% of
basically like of
Yes,
crypto.
yeah.
Yeah.
So the second you take it and now you've like rebranded and you got all these like different like verbiage, I guess, for crypto, I think that'll shift a lot of people as well, because words do have a lot of impact. And if you're talking from a very technical standpoint, people that aren't from that realm are just like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
I think NFT is the worst fucking name I've ever heard.
That's
Non-fungible.
Like, it's
That's what
so
they're saying.
fucking stupid.
NFT has to change too.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that word has to change.
Like, tell your grandpa, like, hey, I just bought this fucking Bored Ape. What's that? Well, it's an NFT. And they'll be like, they'll have no idea. But like, yeah, I totally agree. The branding of crypto isn't the best, but people are going to figure it out how to make it better.
Oh, of course.
It's just going to be the way. It is definitely the biggest opportunity of our generation, hands
Yes.
down. But I'm going to be counterintuitive is I actually think it will cause more people to lose money.
Right now.
Yes.
I still think in the future for the average consumer, they will lose more money in crypto when they're trying to invest it than.
Well, did you hear about that hack? Like $600 million was stolen. I think it was from like Axie and Ronin or something like that.
So it was, where was it? Like, so I'm not in on the crypto space as much. So it was stolen from these people that hold other people's money, like almost like a wallet of all these different people's
Search
accounts.
it up, but it was they basically hacked like 600 million out of wallets, I believe.
And it was of ETH, right?
Yeah, Ethereum. Yeah, that's what I read. While you're looking up, I'll say why my opinion of that is I just believe the complexity. There's so many people that will make mistakes. Because like think of how many people you've met that invested in stocks or did an investment, lost $15,000, never did it again.
Yeah, like they get burned once and then they're
So
out.
now you take cryptocurrency, which is going to be adopted faster than internet. So it's going to be access to more people. You're going to have people that never had access to it who won't actually take the time to get educated on how to properly, take your funds from say Coinbase and set it to your MetaMask, and accidentally they send it on the wrong blockchain, or when they're trying to do a fucking sushi swap to turn it back into fiat currency or put it back into Bitcoin. There are just so many people that will mess up on it, or they forget their passwords, or they're locked out of their accounts. That's why I feel like for the average consumer, it will be the worst thing for investing. I believe it's the best place that you should hold in terms of currency in 10 years, that you would only hold a Bitcoin and for purchasing. But as investing, I would tell almost every average consumer, unless you're going to take the time to learn about it, do not fucking touch it, because you will fuck yourself.
And it's a deep rabbit hole right now. Like
It's
yeah, it's deep.
Matt Bertulli said we were at like an event, and it was like a whole crypto event, and one of the guys, Matt Bertulli, said, I don't want to go through like 10 steps to go to a car wash. I literally just want to like scan and go in and wash my car. I don't want to like log in, verify, do this, do that, right? And it's just like, that was a good example that speaks to like the early adopters. It's like, we're going to do everything blockchain. Car washes are going to be on blockchain. Like everything's going to be on blockchain. And it's like, no, like I'm sure you could utilize the technology at some point to make it more efficient, automate it, whatever it be. But like, let's just focus on what actually the utilization case for blockchain can be. And don't even like say that blockchain's a part of it. You don't have to always say that blockchain's a part of it. You can literally,
I'd say you don't even want to say it.
you don't even want, just have the technology, use the technology, and then just keep whatever it was branded originally or whatever it be. You know what I mean?
Man, this is where I think that this is how I think the adoption will go. This is my prediction, is thinking a little bit more long term. You guys know how like blockchain and all that is run on Web3. Like for those that are really techie, it's like the code is called Web3. And Web 1 was when the internet first launched and it was just text. And Web 2 is when they integrated photo and video with Web 1. But no one, like myself included, until I looked into it, had no idea we went from Web 1 to Web 2. No one knew, except for techie people. And I think that the adoption of like crypto and all that stuff happens when people have no idea that we've actually migrated the whole world from Web 2 to Web 3. And no one knows. Like, I'll give you an example. You know, we were talking the other day about Elon making that tweet about Twitter being a free speech platform.
Yeah.
Like, is it actually a free speech platform? Like, this is a poll. Answer like truthfully, because your answers could have ramifications. And then we were talking about, like, is Elon going to make his own version of Twitter on Web 3? No one's really going to know it's on Web 3, though. My thought, I was thinking about this last night, was if he did something on the blockchain and on Web 3 and there was no free speech, no user who uses it would have any idea. So it's about simplifying the back end and making it marketable on the front end for the average consumer that has no clue that it's run on blockchain or Web 3. It just happens to be more secure, more efficient, and it just like is a value add to the user. But the user doesn't need to know everything that goes into the value add. Like they just need it to be high level. And that's when I think crypto, NFTs, and all that gets adopted. And that's what you're basically saying about the marketing problem.
Yes. Yeah.
Is like no one should know. Like you're saying your girlfriend shouldn't know that it's like NFTs, blockchain. It's like it should be like, oh, it makes sense. I buy this thing and it's really secure. And I bought this like picture and it gives me access to all these things online.
Yeah.
That's it. Anything more complicated than that, and I think you just lose the average person.
Yep. And I think that's when we'll see the adoption. I think we're not even close to the true Web 3. We're just like Web 2.5.
Which makes me think we're in like a tech arms race. That comes back to what you were just saying about how it's like there's too much out there. Like a lot of people are going to lose money. And it's because all these companies are in the tech arms race to see whose code and whose platform gets used at mass adoption.
And I actually think like this is kind of controversial to a lot of the people in the crypto space. But I do think like we need some sort of centralization within like, let's say the metaverse, for example. Right? You know what I mean? Like everything can't be decentralized. Otherwise we're literally like the Wild West. Like shit can just like, you can lose your money like that. Whereas like if there's some sort of centralization that like there's security, like if you get hacked under like, I think it's like crypto.com. If you get hacked through crypto.com, you get your funds still back. So people still, especially in today's world, need that sort of security. Whereas like if you get hacked from your wallet, like let's say your MetaMask, it's gone forever. There's no getting it back. There's no insurance policy. There's nothing. And like that, I can't see that like from a mass perspective, like people being okay with that. So people really want the decentralization, but they don't realize that we literally need some sort of centralization. There can be better checks and balances, of course, but we need it. And then getting back to the Axie Infinity hack. So it was basically they stole $600 million from Sky Mavis, which is the developers of the popular NFT Axie Infinity. So, that's just insane. Like 600 million. And you got to think like there's literally like billions of dollars being hacked in the crypto space right now. It's like it's actually fucking insane.
The thing with decentralized too is everyone wants it, but I don't think the mass population can handle the responsibility of a decentralized.
That's what I was trying to say. Exactly, right?
Yeah. Like people don't understand like, hey, like no longer, like say when you have your money in a bank, it is the money's, they will ensure to make sure that it's there. Now you decentralize, that is on you.
Yep.
And how many people are going to understand the amount of responsibility that goes into a decentralized currency? Like you look after it and that's it. It doesn't fucking matter, Charlize at the bank, if you get fucking scammed to help you refund it. It's on you.
Yep.
And I don't think most people will be able to handle that. Like we do need some sort of little bit of governing body on it.
Always, yeah. I just think you can use the blockchain to help have better checks and balances within that governing body, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
So I think it's a balance, but
Basically make our systems more efficient.
What do you think in terms of other areas of the gig economy, in terms of a kid going to high school right now, how do you think that will benefit them?
I actually saw an interesting thing about the gig economy, and it's like the gig economy is just skills. So like it's special, like not specializing in skills, but it's like, let's say you want to be a digital marketer. Then you'd go and be, let's say, you'd master Google Ads, right? In the gig economy, you're high value if you're very dialed in with Google Ads. So bringing that back to like a kid coming out of high school, instead of going to university and learning the overarching business management, accounting, whatever, right? You can literally go online, learn a specific skill set, Google Ads, whatever it be, and then dial it in, practice it, learn the ropes, and be continually innovating, because obviously the platforms, everything change within that constantly. But if you're always on top of it, you're going to be able to, in the gig economy, always be in demand, because it's borderless. Like I'll hire somebody like in Dubai to do Google Ads if they're good, and I'll pay them what they're worth. Right. So I think that's just a really good example of like the gig economy. Is it's like you're able to obviously work remotely, but if you master within a specific skill set, you're higher in demand in the gig economy. And then people actually that are already part of the gig economy or like the freelancing world feel more secure there than they do with a job. Like they feel more job security from the freelance perspective than they do from just having a 9-to-5 job.
It sounds like what you're saying is, like, if you specialize in one thing and you are one of the best at it, your potential for scale in the gig economy is effortless, to the point where you will be so valuable, you will have more job security than the average person and not even be worried.
Yeah.
Like that, isn't that like what Naval says? He I think he used the example that like in Japan, or maybe it's China, there's so many people, so there can be a shop in a subway that is, we sell 1980s vinyl records, and that's all that they sell. And you're like, how the fuck does this shop stay afloat? That makes no sense. But there's so many people in China that even that niche alone can be supported. So when you take that at scale to the gig economy online, any niche has enough people that you could be supported as long as you were the best within the niche.
Absolutely.
I think that comes to contracting, how it's ran. So like instead of and this is how it will actually make every business more profitable, and you'll have higher job satisfaction. So instead of like hiring, say, you to do full-time digital marketing media for me, and you work all year round and do that, I just hire you for one project. So you make a premium, but you do better work. You're more creative. You do a better job for me. So I pay you for only, say, 3 months, but you make 6 months salary. Yeah. So then I technically, as the business owner, have saved 6 months of paying someone to do that job all year round, and I got a better product. Yeah. So it's literally going to have twofold effect in the economy on both sides, from the person that gets employed, from the actual like employer, because you're going to do a better job and get paid more. But I'll get a better result and have to pay you less over the year. So it's just so beneficial for people that don't want to do the standard 9 to 5. Like the kid in high school, you know what I mean? You could master one skill, like you're saying. You could go move, live off seas, live wherever you want, and just keep developing that skill and do contract work where you get paid a premium. And then you rest, recover, and repeat it, going back to the state of flow. Instead of having to work the whole year time period, you just have to really give it your all for 3 months, and then you can take 2 months off because you got paid a 6-month wage in that 3 months, and you're still going to come out ahead overall the year, even if you work half the time.
100%. Which is actually brings up a random but interesting point. It's like, in the next 15 to 20 years, is there going to be like other random countries that are just going to like blow up because people just want to live there? Like,
dude,
think about
like reverse immigration.
Kind of, yeah.
That's actually hilarious, but
true. Think about like Puerto Rico, right? So Puerto Rico, like, obviously has been always like a kind of a hotbed for like saving on taxes and whatnot, right? But then when you think about in the last 5 years, Puerto Rico has been fucking run rampant with people like moving there. 95% of people, crypto.
Because of the
Yeah,
tax, right?
because of the tax. So now it's become this like crypto like kind of haven, like where everybody can like network. And then think about it. If you're like networking with some of the biggest people in crypto, what do you think is going to happen? Bigger things, bigger projects, crazier things are going to happen. And it makes me wonder, like, you look at like El Salvador and they're trying to do Bitcoin City, right? If he's successful with that, like, as a country, will that change their country and like the way their country is perceived? And will it actually create like this crazy economy for them where people go there and like they're almost like the Dubai of what would be like Central America?
Or
Like-
you go to Silicon Valley if you're in tech.
Yeah.
Like you go there
Yeah.
if you're trying to
So
create
it's just interesting because crypto is global and truly global. Like people that don't live in like North America might not want to even ever live in North America and choose to live somewhere like that, which then might make it more enticing for people in North America to want to live there as well. And just could like, I think about that a lot. I'm like, could be interesting to see like.
Well, yeah, I think so. Even like not necessarily in crypto, but just with the gig economy in general.
100%.
Like my thought is in the next couple of years, like maybe in my early 30s, like if I'm making all my money online, why am I not living in Bali?
Yeah.
Straight up, like where the cost of living is a fraction of the cost to live here in Canada, and it's like nicer. Like you get to live on like a beach, like you just work online. Like to me, it's just a no-brainer. Like even like half the year, why am I not there like 6 months out of the year, and then I'm in North America for the other 6? Like even just that, how is that going to change the economies of the world? And I'm not an economist, but it seems odd to me that a whole country could be sustained off of work that doesn't even come from that country. Like all of the money flowing within the country. In the example you're talking about crypto, well, like let's say that I'm doing work, like we'll take crypto out of it. Let's say that I'm doing work just making money online through social media. But I moved to Bali and a bunch of people do that, and it becomes like Bali becomes a hub of just people that work online, and they make all their money in North America selling products to people in North America, but then that money gets spent in Bali in the Bali economy. What the heck does that do when like this whole economy is like they don't even supply jobs, but the economy grows because everyone's jobs come from the online space? Like that just is kind of a weird thing to wrap your head around.
That is kind of trippy.
I never thought of it that way.
Yeah.
Because that's actually going to benefit all these countries that never are truly in like the drivers of and they probably never will be, but it will benefit, like, you know what I mean? Like Nicaragua all of a sudden is going to start outpacing the United States of America in GDP growth just because they have 100,000 people that maybe move there from the States.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting perspective
it'll
because
change
it will
their
help them
Yeah, it's
internally
gonna
if more people are going there and spending money there. That's cool. Yeah, I never thought of it that
Think
way.
about like if Bitcoin gets to like some crazy number, like $1 million of Bitcoin, right? Let's say it gets to that point, and I believe it will, but let's just say theoretically it does. Like El Salvador will be a different country,
Especially if they hold the most amount of Bitcoin.
right? And then if they're doing
as a country.
and even think about like the Bitcoin city, if they can actually execute on that vision, that changes a lot of things. That's a huge shift of like wealth, mindset, even like people's mindset towards the new world. So I don't know, it's interesting.
It's almost like when you talk to the baby boomers that were like so pissed when they removed gold from the dollar. And so if you talk to any baby boomer about investing, like, hold gold, you gotta buy gold. You know what I mean? You gotta hold physical gold because that's what's actually gonna be valuable in 10 years. Which like it is. It's a you know what I mean, a scarce resource. There's only so much gold in the world. But it's probably more advantageous to hold one Bitcoin than me fucking getting a safe and holding some plaque of gold in there for the next 10 years.
Yeah, like I think the thing that Bitcoin really disrupts is the opportunity costs. Like that's where I say crypto like really throws a wrench in things for me, where so you can invest in stocks, commodities, or crypto, and like the opportunity cost. Like if Bitcoin hits $1 million and I don't have Bitcoin, I'm gonna be shooting myself in the foot.
Right?
Like that's insane to think about.
Jumping topics here, boys. Y'all see the Will Smith SmackDown?
Yeah, who hasn't seen it?
Dude, I literally don't give a fuck. I just want to stop seeing it. Like, it's really not that big of an issue. Like, obviously it's at the Oscars and it's like a
Fuck.
really high end person smacking like another really high end person. But it's just crazy how like with social media, this is what everything's wrong with social media. Is like now that I have to delete my Facebook for the next week because I don't, or TikTok or whatever, because I don't want to see Will Smith smacking Chris Rock another time.
Dude, it just goes to show how out of touch that whole world is with like the reality. And I mean, you look at that whole scenario with like Will Smith, he literally saved the Oscars by doing that. Like the Oscars was so irrelevant. Like who actually gave a fuck about the Oscars before? And now that smack, boom, 200 million views across the world. It's fucking, there's like 10 trending sounds of like the keep my wife safe out your fucking mouth.
Dude,
Then it turns into like the TikTok song, all this crazy stuff.
like part of me, like everyone's saying that it was real, but part of me seems like it was fucking set up just to bring the Oscars back.
Hollywood, baby.
You know, like
I'd believe that if the look on Chris Rock's face wasn't so just like, what the hell just happened?
Yeah, and like
he's also an actor though.
Yeah.
You make a good point. Yeah.
It could be, who knows? But I mean, regardless, it was the fact that it was like so blown up for like a week. It's just like, shut up about it now. We've heard enough. We don't care anymore. But the interesting part that like, I actually saw Dan Martell made a video on it, and he had an interesting perspective how like Will Smith's speech at the end was very relatable to like entrepreneurs, in regards to, what was it? When you're at your highest point, the devil will come trying to knock you down or something along those lines. He said that within his speech. I don't know it word for word, but it was just kind of like a really good point on how like as an entrepreneur, you might feel like you're at the top and like you're winning and you get this like kind of ego boost, but like it doesn't take much to knock you down.
No, dude, this is something I've been thinking about a lot. We're kind of getting away from the Will Smith topic, but I think it's important. Is like I can't remember whose philosophy it is. I really need to look it up. But one of like the number one rules of this philosophy is do no harm. And it just sounds simple. It's like do no harm. But when you think about it, it's like, holy shit, like how important that is for people, businesses, and society, I think is just so underrated. So think about how long it takes to grow a tree. 20, 30 years. How long does it take to cut down a tree? Do no harm. Like it takes forever to build something and it takes almost nothing to tear it down. So the number one rule is do no harm in any scenario. Think about, like, this was from Atomic Habits. I read it the other day, and this fucking blew my mind. He goes, if you have $100 and you take a 50% gain, you're at 150. But how much percentage of a loss does it take you to get back to 100? 30%. So you don't have to take an equal loss to get back. Like if you took an equal loss, like 50% gain and then a 50% loss, you're in the negative. You're less than $100. Where does that apply to every other area of life? You're trying to get in shape. You're like, hey, I worked out 3 times today, but I had 1 pizza. You're back at 0. You need like more input for a gain than you do to take a loss on anything. So do no harm. I think it's so profound.
Dude, that was summed up really. That was like, yeah, that was really, really good point.
Yeah. That's a good TikTok.
Now
right
going
there.
on our SOF thing of debunking the way of business. How do you do no harm as a business owner? Because the reality is like you're not going to be able to please everyone.
Yeah.
And like the culture of being a fucking cutthroat asshole businessman, like people don't really see it from that side. So how do you effectively implement that like do no harm in everyday business? Because like how, like maybe I'm just kind of being controversial here and saying that, is that a good pretense to set on yourself? Because you are probably going to upset some people.
Depends on what you define as harm.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It all depends on values.
Yeah, like there's like I get your question. Is like you're always going to upset people, but it's like how much harm is that going to do? Like I think with the Will Smith thing, like it's a bit of a PR disaster for him, right? Like it doesn't look good for him. Like it's huge. I'm underselling it. It's a huge PR disaster. So he's done harm to his own brand. How long has it taken Will Smith to build that brand? One thing. And people are online saying, I don't support him anymore, terrible person. And it's one of the unfortunate things I think about society is everyone is very quick to judge and just say, nope, this person is now like this. And they're not very quick to forgive. He's human. I don't know about you, but there's been a lot of times that I've done shit that I'm not proud of. A lot of times. And for people to hold that against me for my entire life, I think that'd be actually pretty shit.
Yeah, and I'm like not saying like violence is the answer, but like
No.
not a lot of people would fucking stand up and let that joke roll through. Like a lot of people would get up and fucking do something.
Yeah, and he
Like
didn't
especially
do
if you
violence.
felt it was like personal, like if it's like a personal attack on family, like obviously it's the Oscars. You gotta like for him, it's a circumstance where you just gotta take it on the chin and like it is what it is. It's the Oscars. But like for a lot of people, like that will evoke fucking strong emotion. And if that was already like the alopecia thing was already like a big emotional point for them back home, and there's like already big issues around that, and like whatever he's going through in his life right now, like that was just the final trigger to be like, fuck this shit.
Yeah, man. And we all hit breaking points. We do. And I want to be clear. I'm not defending him. I'm just saying, why are we so quick to judge? Like he's human. Like was what he did right? No, he never should have slapped Chris Rock. What would have actually been incredible is if he would have walked on stage and just said, "Hey, you know, I understand that the Oscars are for making jokes and things like that, but this is maybe one of those jokes that, you know, there's jokes that we shouldn't say. And here's what's going on in a person's life. Like, have you ever thought about what is this person feeling right now? Like this joke actually has ramifications, and maybe we shouldn't be so quick to just say, hey, it's the Oscars, so any joke flies, because that is a joke at someone's expense that's really not good at all for like her or for anyone." And then he went and sat back down, and we all would have been like, holy fuck, Will Smith, holy shit. It's the slap, it's the violence that made it like not a good like moral act. And now everyone's so quick to judge, and they're not going to be quick to forgive, when like if we really look internally at ourselves, we can all admit that there's times that we've snapped and not been that great, and that it would be really shitty for people to hold that against us forever.
Yeah, it would suck.
But really, at the end of the day, what do you think's more important for him? Like having his wife on his side, or having all these people hate on him?
You know,
like would you think his wife is happy that he did it? Like she's probably proud that he stood up for her.
Yeah, like, and I think that's where it's more complicated. Like, even looking at it, I'm like, you know, I'm happy he actually stood up for something he believed in and defended his family. I'm just not happy in the way he did it. Yeah. And I think that's where you can look at it both ways and just say, hey, you know, like there's a lesson to be learned here. The way you did that wasn't optimal, but like standing up for someone is great. It's just, you know, do it in a better way. Yeah. Yeah.
I think he'll probably take it as a learning experience.
Oh, 100%.
Like he's like his story's pretty cool, his transformation, and
yeah,
I've always respected him. I would say it really doesn't change my opinion of the guy.
No, not me either. Honestly, the whole debacle, I didn't even give a fuck. I don't give a fuck about it. Like, it was just like too much of like, people put so much energy into actually like making their point and caring about it. It's like, do you think like they care about you? Like, why are you wasting so much energy on this and like fighting people on Facebook and Instagram over what's right and wrong? Like, just get over it.
Dude, I agree.
And giving it more, you're literally giving into their hand of giving them more attention than they should even have.
Yes. I was going to say, this is something I wanted to bring up earlier, but we just got away from it. And I'm like, I guess it slipped through. But what is the most valuable like skill that a person can have in the gig economy? And I think it's being able to get attention. But the way in which you do it, there's good ways and bad ways to do it. I would argue that there are people that get a lot of attention by gaming people's emotions and just firing people up. And they're totally fine with it. This is like, to me, an ethical question. You believe like your own stance on it. Someone could say, who cares if I like rile everyone up? I'm getting a lot of attention and they're just making millions of dollars with online content. And it's like, okay, fair. I would argue like, what good does that do for the economy long-term and for your brand long-term if that's your method of getting attention? You know, Elon Musk gets a lot of attention, but he's also changing the world. There's a lot of other people that get attention, and I can say they're just riling up people's emotions and they know how to game the system. So do you guys think the most valuable skill in the gig economy is being able to get attention? And would you like expand that ethically, or do you just leave it at that?
I actually would say the most valuable skill in the gig economy is being able to take knowledge into action. And then I think the second most valuable skill is attention. Because I think
what makes you value them that way?
Because we're over flooded with information and knowledge. Like, we can literally get anything at literally our palm of our hands, like any information, anything we need. And because of that, we're overloaded and people don't know how to simplify and then take action on a specific set of knowledge. Like I'm guilty for it as well. Like over consuming and over planning and not actually taking action for it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I think that's what screws a lot of people up. And I think that's more of a valuable asset. Like, so the example would be like somebody in the gig economy goes to do Google ads and then they're like, oh, well, why don't I just shift to TikTok ads? Well, now they're not that good at Google ads, right? They've just shifted their whole attention span over to that, which still is good, but like take the action first on the Google ads, then go and learn TikTok and take action on that next. So do you get what I mean? Like just taking the information in bits and then taking action within it. And then I think attention is our like new world's currency.
Oh, it is for sure. It's actually like monetizable.
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah.
That's probably like, when you talk about gig economy, that probably is the single biggest realization I had about gig economy. Aside from the efficiencies, the automation, the get more done with less time, like that alone is like the biggest thing. Like if you can get attention and you're able to, this is where I agree with Landon on knowledge into action. Everyone has so much knowledge. Very people know how to take action on that knowledge. People think they're smart because they're aware that stuff exists. That's how I would sum it up. They're like, and because they have access to find the answers, they think they know the answers. But like, no, it's like you can't put the cart before the horse. And if you're someone who can get attention and then say, okay, how do I put this into action with my knowledge? Let's launch a clothing brand. And you create like a brand that people care about and you have 1 million followers.
Elevate
clothing brand. Or like if you could sell a course, you could create any kind of product. Like hell, balm.
Yeah.
You could create like shampoo and conditioner. Like if you can get attention, you can monetize the attention if you have the skills to do so. Yeah. That's the biggest realization I think with the gig economy.
Oh yeah. With social media in general, right? I mean, that's that being said, we should probably wrap this podcast up.
Episode 1, guys.
Episode 1. And it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was awesome.
So we're then going to be 9 podcasts away from being
official podcasters.
In the 1%. We're going to be in, once we hit our 11th podcast, we're now in the 1% of podcasters.
We're gonna start saying that all the time after episode 10. The 1% podcast. The podcast.
Yeah. We're not the number 1 podcast in the world. We're just part of the 1%.
We're in the 1%.
We're in the 1%. That's how we're gonna describe it. We do always end with a question, right? We're gonna end with.
Yes.
So, that being said, let's end it with, what do you think? What does SOF or being in a state of flow mean to each of you?
You know, I think being in a state of flow is when your results are on autopilot. Like you figure out what you want. So first you have to have an aim. Your aim structures the way you live and think about your entire life. So if your aim is, I want to have, like, I'll use mine. Like, I really want to be a 1% individual in every area of my life that I believe is important. I want to have a 1% relationship. I want to have a 1% career. I want to have a 1% mindset and a 1% body. And it's hard to do all those things at once, especially because you have to front load in each area. But when you start building the habits and then those become a lifestyle, eventually what's most important to you, you get success on autopilot because you're in that state of flow. You just do it. You don't think about it anymore. You just get up and go to the gym. You just have the tough conversations with your spouse and you show up and you make that relationship work. You know how, like, what you need to do to grow your business and you just do it. And it's just effortless because you've developed the skills, you have the knowledge, your success is on autopilot because you're in a state of flow. And that's what I would say SOF means to me.
Love it.
I guess for my answer, it'd be a lot of people would feel like, and I hear this all the time, like you have to have balance. You know what I mean? You got to be a balanced person. You got to make sure you're giving equal attention to all things, and you're doing all this. Where I don't agree in balance at all. There's always gonna be one thing that you have to give and take. It's just for you to be satisfied knowing that, hey, like, I'm taking more or I'm giving more to this, and something's gonna be out of balance for it. You know, like especially early on when you're building a business. For people, if anyone ever says that, hey, like, I'm building this empire in this business, but they're still able to be the number 1 partner, the number 1 dad, or the number 1 whatever, you'll never have those in balance. To me, state of flow is more like you know that you have some weaknesses, you know you have some areas you got to improve in, you know there's some things that are potentially holding you back, but you're more satisfied. Like you're just satisfied with your life. You're not like we always reflect on, and this is one thing I struggle immensely with, is the keeping score of money. Like if you keep score of trying to make more money your whole life, you will end up miserable. But how do you actually achieve that state of flow is you're just satisfied in all your realms of your life, and people have understanding. So say if you're a partner, you have such a good relationship with your partner that they do understand, hey, you're probably going to give more time and more effort. I'm not saying that's fair. I'm not saying that's fair at all, or that that's what you should do, but they're satisfied and they know that, hey, like this is super important to you, building this business, achieving all your goals, that I'm comfortable and I'm satisfied too with you doing that. So I would deem state of flow as being satisfied with the way your life is. And I'm not saying with your results. I do believe you want to be really unsatisfied with what you're striving for, trying to get better. But that comes to a means then, like I was saying, like if you keep the money score going the whole entire life, you're gonna run out of energy. You just maybe need to transverse it into other areas that you're trying to improve. So you're satisfied, but you're always trying to improve in certain areas.
Hungry but satisfied.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it.
That was good.
Sweet. All right, boys.
Episode
Podcast.
1.
It's a wrap.